Hello and welcome to our 12-part mini-series Harvestable. Join us every Thursday for 15-minute fireside chats with agriculture's most insightful minds in the lead up to harvest. In this episode, we are joined by Brad Jones of Bungulla Farming.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Weston and I'm the CEO and a co-founder at AgriDigital, and I'm hosting Harvestable today, our podcast of farmers, thought leaders and trusted advisors and others out there in the grains industry. So really happy to welcome Brad Jones from Bungulla Farming. Welcome, Brad.
Hey Emma, how you going?
Yeah, really well. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good, thank you. Yep.
Excellent.
Bring
We
us
were
here.
actually having a little bit of a chat off air and you said you'd had quite a busy weekend. So hopefully I've caught you at an okay time.
No, it's okay. We're at the pointy end of the season now, so I guess that's when, we're just trying to get everything finished and across the line.
Excellent. Well, we might dig into that a bit later. But just for our listeners, are you happy to just kind of give a little bit of your background and talk us through Bungulla Farming and, you know, what makes up Bungulla Farming? So,
Yep.
Brad,
Yep.
where are you as we're talking right now?
So I'm in Tamman, which is about 200 k's east of Perth, and my wife and I farm here. It's originally her parents' farm, so I was born and bred on a cotton farm on the Darling Downs in Queensland.
Yeah.
And then I always wanted to be a pilot, so I actually went ag flying, and I was a commercial. Oh, well, I still am a commercial pilot, but I was a contract pilot for about 15 years before Kate and I met. And then one day we were over here for Christmas, and her dad said, "I would like to retire." And like I had a business in Queensland, and we had a little farm in Queensland, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah. But it was such a good opportunity. We thought, oh well, great place to raise a kid, so let's have a crack. So
you guys had children by then as well?
We'd had one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So over we came, and that was in 2007. And then I sold my business over there in 2012, and then kept one aeroplane, and just slowly through a bit of organic growth and a little bit of acquisition, I've grown the aviation business back over here again. So as I like to tell people, I'm not sure if I'm a farmer with a flying habit or a pilot with a farming habit, but both are habits, and they're both pretty expensive, Emma.
They can be pretty expensive. So yeah, hopefully you're getting that to line up the right way in terms of the balancing the books on that one. But and Bungulla Farming, so 200 kilometres north of Perth.
East of Perth, yep.
East of Perth. So we're obviously wheat country. What else are you growing up there?
So in ranking, our crops are wheat, canola, barley, oaten, hay, lupins, and field peas.
Okay, and just if you're comfortable, kind of acreage or hectares that you're farming at the moment?
Yep. So this year, I think we've got 10,250 something hectares planted.
Yep. Wow.
Yep. So it's all up and looking good, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about the harvest actually.
And just for our non-WA listeners, when does harvest kick off, and when will it end, and what sort of sequence will the crops come in?
Okay, so the sequence actually starts today. We start cutting our hay today, and then we'll probably have 6 weeks, maybe 2 months before harvest starts.
Yep.
Generally, we start with our canola and then roll canola, barley, wheat. But I think this year it may be reversed a little bit, and we'll actually have some barley coming online and then some wheat, because our canola is quite late.
Right. Okay.
And I have an LTA with a feed mill in Perth, and my LTA covers November, December, January. So I'll probably just jump in, grab some wheat to fulfill that contract, and then jump back onto the others.
It's a lot to manage, obviously, agronomically, but then also once the crop's harvested, you know, there's a lot of grain. So I'm presuming you've got some on-farm storage, you know, maybe quite a bit of it. How does that work?
So we store pretty much about 12,000 tonne on farm.
Wow.
Most of our canola, as it comes off, we put into the bulk handling system. This year, just for potential harvest logistics, I've actually moved a little bit of wheat in there and a little bit of lupin into CBH, just to keep the flow happening. The risk that we'll see is, you know, the bottleneck will be at port for different reasons, and so I'm keeping our storage reasonably open until like we're coming around the bend of the last end of the harvest, and then I'll start filling it up. Yeah, so I've just got to start managing where to start, where to move it.
There's a lot to manage, and it's not necessarily the playbook for each season changes slightly, because of the variables of farming, because of pricing variables and what selling patterns and marketing patterns might be. And of course, this year, pretty much across all of Australia, I think we have a large carryover stock still. So from last harvest, which is also going to make logistics a bit of a nightmare for some, and at least challenging for most, I think. So just taking a bit of a step back, Brad, you and I first met quite some time ago, but it was actually via social media, so we didn't meet in person as such. And we've had quite a few interactions since then, which has been fantastic. But you always put forward to me as one of the forward-thinking farmers who's really, I guess, taken technology by the horns. Sometimes uber successfully, and sometimes it hasn't worked out for various reasons. But that's part of what being an early adopter is, right?
Correct.
It's actually taking that risk with early technology. Can you talk a little bit about that journey and what sort of got you started thinking about technology on farm and the way that you're going to incorporate tech in your business?
It's actually quite a funny story, and it loops back to flying. So when I was over here and I was flying around the farm and I was looking at it going, okay, we've had a common fertilizer rate, a common seed rate. We've got, it was naturally assumed that the rainfall was consistent across areas of, particular paddocks. But what I was getting in the third degree view was different. Like I was looking at different growth patterns as I was flying over it. And this is back in 2006 or 2007. And then I was just by chance on a flight from Sydney to Moree, and I was sitting next to a guy that I know quite well, and we were talking about it, and he said, you should get in touch with this guy and start looking at soil mapping through EM and radiometric. So I picked up the phone and they put me in touch with some guys from Esperance, and they came up and we mapped it. We EM'd the farm, and then I was lucky enough that when my father-in-law retired, he gave me all of his harvest data, which was quite a few years of it. And he said,
that's pretty valuable, right?
Yeah, but he was also a very forward thinker. He said, "Oh, it'll be useful one day. I'm just not sure what for at this stage."
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was really grainy back then, and we layered it over the top of our EM maps, and it was starting to paint a picture at us. So in 2008, we started doing variable rate across the whole farm. And I was more economically driven than I was agronomically driven at that stage. So a lot of the farm was actually receiving zero fertilizer.
Right.
Because of the risk involved with it. And in the mid-2000s was climatically was quite a tough period through the central wheat belt.
Yep.
There was plenty of poor seasons. So it was really starting to pay dividends. Kate and I were growing the farm. So obviously we're taking on more risk, and like the greater size of the farm, the more skin you lose when things don't go right.
Yeah.
So we were trying to reduce our risk by capital exposed, and that's what pretty much started me on the journey of ag tech, saying that if you get it and it works for you, the dividends it pays are very large.
So really interesting. So just to kind of, great story. First of all, there's so much in that. One, the introduction to ag tech was almost visual assessment, flying over paddocks, both your own farm and then off across the east coast of Australia, from Sydney to Moree, which is up north of Sydney, well north of Sydney. And that sort of led you to explore technology. And then what I guess came from there was a couple of things for me as I was listening to you. One, about the importance of data, getting started with some data. It probably helps you get to the value proposition of whatever technology you're adopting quicker if you have that data set. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yeah, 100%. It's an important, you can build it relatively quickly, and there's enough stored data out there at the moment, whether it be from satellite images and stuff like that, you can actually draw from, but accumulating your own is obviously very important, and it's sitting there. It's just being able to bring it into a usable format. But to bring it into a usable format, you've got to have it in your head as well, what you want. So you've got to start with the end game and then reverse engineer it back out of that. So what do you really want from it?
Interesting.
If you just start accumulating it, thinking, oh, I'm going to use it one day, a bit like Kate's dad, which is a fair point at the time, but until you have an idea of what you want to do with it, I think it's, you can be paralyzing yourself by just accumulating all this stuff and not doing anything with it.
And never been able to use it. Yeah, I absolutely understand. And then the other point that really caught me when you were speaking before was about actually using technology to minimize or mitigate against risk. Now, sometimes the adoption of technology is seen as a risk in itself. How have you mitigated against that? Or is that something that you were just prepared to take the chance on?
It was a risk I was prepared to take. And, it's been good and bad. Like I look at it fairly in depth first, and I'll process it in my own mind. Then I'll do some DD on it. I'll do some scenario analysis. Then I'll go to Kate and I'll talk to her about it.
Yep.
Because it's just really nice to have, because she's not that tech oriented like I am, but it's nice to have that second set of eyes look at it and
absolutely
and just throw the questions at you. And if you haven't been able to answer those questions, well then it's it's just another step that you'll another step in the process to make sure that your due diligence is actually sound.
Yeah, I think that due diligence point is really important. And look, just so for all of our listeners, Brad, you are a Waypath customer.
Yes.
Waypath is a harvest management and
a good
grain
one.
tracking tool that AgriDigital produces and has out there in the marketplace. So it's important that we're transparent about that. But thinking about, and now we've got it out there, one of the big reasons I believe that you went with Waypath was because you have a weighbridge. So you had infrastructure that you were starting to connect up to your data set and to your tech workflows, essentially.
Yes.
How long has that process taken you, and what does it look like at harvest when you've actually got that working properly?
Okay, so it's definitely been evolution. Like again, knowing that being able to measure is very important, because then you can manage it. So then, but I only had I had this really rudimentary Excel spreadsheet that I used to do it all on. And when Waypath came through, it was just so much easier for me. It was all there. The formulas were built. I could have an audit system. So if I needed to go back through, I could find where it went, when it went, and how it went. So
and this is all your grain you're talking about, just being able to sort of track whether it's where it is from the field or from the paddock, basically, through to the stored point, which is basically where Waypath assists at the moment. If you could wave a magic wand, what would be the next kind of piece of tech or, the next innovation or problem that you need solved?
I would probably have it all the way back to the paddock, as in, so the quality that's coming into the silo will be recorded in there as well.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I've moved away because again, this is another risk mitigation strategy that we use, because of the cliff-based pricing between your different specs in grain.
Yeah.
To move away from that, we just started to go for volume into the feeder market. So we just started to look at just cleaning up our supply chain, and that was pretty much observing what the mines do. If you look at Rio, BHP, Fortescue, they control their supply chain from end to end.
Yes.
They're still exposed to FX and commodity price.
Yep.
But they control their supply chain all the way up to the point where they put it over the ship rail. So I thought, well, that's a good example of what we can do here. So that's when, we started building storage, going to the feeder market or the end users, building the relationship and the supply chain from there, and then controlling it all the way back through. So that was to take away that cliff face pricing. If we go from an AP1 to a GP, suddenly we're torching, $50 a ton at times.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, let's eliminate that. And I built the silo so I can blend and aggregate. And so if we do go back in chasing that higher quality spec market, well, we can just by blending it through.
Yes.
And that was so to have that connected right through would probably be I wouldn't say it's the holy grail, but it would be valuable. Even though that we have tried to move away from that particular milling market.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. So, I mean, really, the journey that you've been on, I mean, it hasn't really been just a data journey or a farming journey or an ag tech journey or a technology journey. It's really been a supply chain journey when it comes down to it, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, very much so. Yep.
And so,
Because
do you call yourself a farmer, Brad? Do you call
um,
yourself a pilot? Like, what's your job title?
it changes from day to day. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm a truck driver, sometimes I'm a pilot, sometimes I was an airplane loader yesterday. Um, yeah, like I change my job title quite a bit, but I guess I would say I'm probably more of a chairman now.
Yep.
Because I do have people underneath me that manage that particular field, and I look over it. Like, you could almost say CEO, but I'd say Kate's probably more the CEO, and I'm
Yep.
more the chair.
Well, Brad, thanks so much for your time. As
Whoever.
the lead or one of the leads at Bungulla Farming, whether it's a chair, whether it's the pilot, whether it's the truck driver,
I might
we all
go
do the
mow the
jobs
lawn
that need
now.
to be done. But one of the clear objectives that you have is to build out the most efficient supply chain that you can,
Absolutely.
and to effectively run your business with that in mind. And you're just doing a fabulous job. So congratulations. And yeah,
Thank
really
you.
exciting to see what happens next.
Thanks, Emma.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Brad.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Harvestable by Waypath. We hope you enjoyed this fireside chat. Have a great weekend and see you next Thursday.